to order at exactly 6 o'clock. First thing on the agenda is to approve the COW minutes from November 15th, which was,
I'll move it.
thank you. Do you have a second?
Second, that's Liz.
I'm sorry.
I said that was Liz.
Okay. I can't remember the word. Everybody votes now.
All those
What
in
does-
favor?
Oh my God.
No, wait a minute.
lifesaver. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? Extent, okay, good.
And abstain.
Yep. Okay, all in favor. Now we will discuss the school calendar. I don't know what staff member is going to do that. Will that be Susan?
And Susan's not here.
Yeah, I see her. She's muted.
We've
Hi.
actually reviewed the
Oh, there
calendars.
you are. Sorry.
We've reviewed the calendar several times, and this year's calendar probably most closely mirrors the Learn calendar. And my suggestion was we should keep as close to the Learn calendar as possible, seeing that many of our teachers may live in other districts. Many of our students have parents who are teaching in other districts. And the whole reason that we created a regional calendar was to have those start dates that would be in sync, to also have our end dates in sync, to have the regional professional development, both in November and March, the same date, so we could participate in that. And we've certainly gone through experiences with other calendars to suggest that there are things that we wouldn't want to repeat, issues like taking away the October Indigenous People, Columbus Day. We've talked about maybe not calling it a particular name. But we also had added the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we hear from all our families, especially military families, how wonderful this is to give them the opportunity to visit family. We've also talked about Veterans Day and how important it is for Veterans Day, because sometimes that's the day that the military parent is able to be home with the family. And it's very hard to get veterans to come out on that day because they usually have really big things that they're involved in the community at large. So we're able to celebrate Veterans Day throughout that week. And I think we do a really good job. I wouldn't want to take that away. There was also concern about starting much earlier, but you need to know that this year, especially now that we have at least one snow day, is going almost to the end of June. And a lot of work gets done in the summertime and needs to get done. And so we are starting earlier than we had been the past several years. We don't have to start after Labor Day. We can start before, bring our teachers back. So we're really within a day of starting in the same way that all the other Learn districts are starting, prior to Labor Day, and getting it started in August with our 3 PD days, which I think is really important for our staff. It allows us to have a convocation, to have a faculty meeting, and that whole bonding thing happens, and getting information about the new year. And it also allows the district to have a PD day with district initiatives, and the schools to have their PD days. And especially now that we have 5 intra-district magnets at the elementary, and we continue to be a STEAM MYP magnet at the middle school, and have so many different initiatives, I think that this is really valuable time. So that's all I wanted to say, is like in defense of where that calendar came together. It was really aligned very closely with the Learn calendar. And I know you've had copies of it. And I tried to bring out the points that you've been making to answer any questions. I do see Jay's hand is raised though.
Jay?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to note is, heaven forbid we're still in session on June 19th, but that is a federal holiday now, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
we have to look into that. I
Yeah.
definitely will, because now that we've had this snow day, we really go into the next week. So I will absolutely check on that for this year's calendar.
yeah, but just the notation that it is Juneteenth.
Yeah, that's right.
Just in case we're either in session or summer school has started. Other than
Summer
that,
school typically doesn't start that soon. We usually
Okay.
have a week in between, and especially with the special education summer opportunities, but we have so many camps now that we usually wait until beginning of July after 4th of July.
okay. And in terms of the idea that came up in the last meeting about just marking everything as a school holiday, I really don't want to lose Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, Martin Luther King Day, and just slap a generic label on those days. Personally, I just, these are all on a federal calendar, and I just think we should continue to align with that.
Thank you, Jay.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Liz?
Yeah, Susan, the last time we looked at this was the first meeting with the new board, and Bev Washington had asked for some data about the AP and IB scores, and would it be better, because the discussion was, would it be better to look at them, look at starting school earlier, if that would benefit our kids. And I realized that our scores last year are probably not indicative of what our scores would
Right.
be because of the distance learning. But I just want to know if we're going to be getting those scores at some point, so we can have a look at that data and then to make for future decisions, and when that might be.
We can certainly look at that data. Like you said, it is definitely affected by COVID. You've already seen the SBAC data and the NGSS. And as I said, it's not just AP and IB. We do
Right.
assessments of our kids, and that information is to be used to help us really accelerate learning, so our kids will learn even more so. So, we will certainly have that on the calendar of things to take a look at more deeply.
Yes, please. And I wanted to second the thoughts that Jay said. Columbus Day, I'm not sure if that is considered politically appropriate now. Should it be Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day? So what's the national trend on that?
I
Does
would say
anybody know?
I've been hearing Indigenous people, but I can certainly look into that.
Yes, please.
I want to say that I thought a lot about this today. Indigenous people in particular, Indigenous Peoples Day in particular. And I think what would have to happen is that the municipality would have to change that. And then we would follow along. But that's
I hadn't
something
thought of
Susan
that.
can look.
That would be a great liaison topic, wouldn't it? When we pull the new
Absolutely.
liaison team together, because I think Kim has talked to Jill Rusk and Mr. Melendez, and I think they're really looking forward to joining forces so that we can put some really good topics on the agenda to discuss between the three groups.
Can you repeat what you said? Did everyone hear what she said from the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it was just me. No worries. That's a good idea.
Just that I remember the Groton Board of Ed, Town
Liaison.
Council, and City Council RTM Liaison Committee that we have hosted
Yeah.
at Groton Public Schools. Last year, and I'd be happy to clarify this, last year, because their task force meeting was laid on top of the same time frame, that it wasn't always well attended. But I think the feeling is that it's something that can be very valuable for us to partner with our other town representative.
Yes, and some of this Indigenous Peoples Day could be raised
Yeah.
definitely with the town council.
Right.
Any other discussion before we move on? Doesn't look like it.
So
Okay.
this doesn't get voted on now, but hopefully we can put it on the calendar for the end of January. So if
Exactly.
anybody has any other questions or need, clarification on anything, please feel free to email Kim or me or you, Kat, and just to see if there's anything else out there that's a question to folks, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks for that, Susan.
Thank you.
Before we get started with the budget workshop, I wanted to ask the body, would we like, first and foremost, after the presentation, I would like us to try to keep our questions until the end of the presentation. However, do you want to do that after the bullet elementary instruction or in between each bullet? Do we understand?
Yeah.
I think when we practiced, because I actually reviewed it with Phil and Ken today,
Yes.
and we went through each piece, like the orientation, the prior year review. And if he has a couple slides that go along with each of these, and you've seen the slides, but he can put them up. And I think it's good that when we're ready to discuss it, we then take the slides down from the share and then we can discuss. So I like the idea. That's how we kind of practiced it, Kat, is that we thought we'd go each bullet and then stop and then take questions there so people kind of can remember their thoughts. What do you think?
All right. So that, because they've spent time figuring that out, that's the way we're going to do it.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
a quick question before we start.
Yes.
Ken, did we get a budget book yet?
Yes.
Oh, you don't have your budget book?
No, I don't.
Does everybody have their budget book?
Yes.
Everybody
you're referring
received it
to?
before we went on
Yes.
vacation. It was sent out through our courier.
Mrs.
I didn't get it.
Ackerman, did you get yours? Mrs. Ackerman, did you get one? Okay.
Well, I'll go
It
look
was,
around.
it was a white, it looks
Yeah.
like this. It's
Yeah.
a white
Yeah.
book.
I just,
If,
I don't see it, so I'm just going to kind of, if Ken, when we get to the different parts, are you going to put them up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I
I'll make a
can't
note.
find it, well, no, let me double check because
okay,
my office here is in nasty turmoil. That's why it's blanked out behind me because disaster has hit. It's Tornado Alley back here. So
Okay.
Ken, if I can't find it tonight, by the time we get off, I'll email you and
okay. Yeah,
arrange
I'll
to get
get
it
one
picked
out to
up.
you.
Thank you so much, and I apologize.
Another thing I would request is that you keep your questions as specific as possible so we can keep the meeting moving. And we're not here till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. if
Can I
possible.
also recommend
Okay.
that you put your questions in chat so that I'll have a recording then of all the questions? And if we can't get to all of them tonight, I can actually take them and research and respond. That would be awesome.
All righty, Ken. what do you
All right.
have for us?
So I think we're going to start off with the budget timeline. And I'm going to put up the latest. So can you see that? Has eight-
We can see down to February 3rd. Well, let's see.
all the way across, it starts with Monday, October 4th, and
Yes,
And
So
tonight
this-
is the
this-
10th, January 10th. We're right
Yep.
here.
so I'll scroll up a little bit. So this was in the front pocket of your budget book, except you'll notice a highlighted area right here. There's a change. Instead of Monday, February 14th, we change it to Wednesday, February 16th. So you should have gotten that with your board notes. And I would ask that you replace what's in the board book with this one, the one with the highlighted piece on it, so that we all stay on the same schedule.
I sent that out with the board notes, the corrected one. I'd also like to have you pay attention to Tuesday, January 18th, because it's coming very fast next week to have the public hearing, Board of Education special meeting, and then our budget work session. And Joyce and Ken have been working, supporting me in putting together the presentation. It's almost ready. I have a couple tweaks, and so I'll make sure you get that before the weekend. So you'll have the presentation that we're going to be putting out to the public. So again, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Susan.
Mhm.
And so everything else on this timeline stays the same as it was. It's just that one highlighted spot that changed. I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that.
And Ken, all the meetings start at 6?
They do.
Okay.
Before I say that though, all the budget work sessions start at 6. I think that we have to confirm that, Susan, as far as the public hearing and the joint meeting.
I'm gonna look at it right now. to see.
Yeah, I don't want to say that without confirming. Oh, good, you found it, Liz. Good, good.
Yeah, the special meeting regarding the public hearing of the budget is at 6. And then our special meeting regarding the budget work session is at 7. And it will be on Zoom because we've decided to do all of our meetings with the outbreak, the bigger surge of COVID.
The next item I wanted to share was the budget development schedule, which was also sent out on in board notes. Let me see. And can we see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the same schedule as far as the budget work sessions are concerned, but it kind of breaks down what it is we want to accomplish in each of the sessions. So you notice today, 110, we're going over the budget materials. We're going to look at prior year, a lot of what's bulleted on the agenda. And then next week we'll start marching through the function pages as outlined here. But I just wanted to go over this and make sure there weren't any questions before moving on.
And then the things that we were going to try to accomplish on Valentine's Day, we set aside for 2 days later, so we wouldn't interrupt anybody's Valentine's Day, but it's the same item. So we just moved it from 214 to 216.
We also wanted to point out that on the joint Board of Ed, Town Council, and RTM is on 2222. Isn't that exciting?
Yes, we love that number. You need to play it. To me, a numbers lady, I thought that's a great number. But that's when we meet with Town Council and RTM education group. And that's when we kind of have a meeting that seems to have worked out really well. And we can kind of, we should just look to review, Ken, what we had originally talked about, the topics that we're going to be talking about with the joint meeting. These are the ones you see on athletics. That's what we're going to talk about in our board meeting. So we'll make sure you have that page of information that we kind of a historical walkthrough with them.
Yep, and we'll have we'll review the CIPs, and then we'll also talk about any of the comments that may have come out of the January 18th meeting.
Mhm.
All right. All right. I'm going to move on to the next bullet unless you want me to stop here.
Keep on going.
So I thought it might be a good idea, especially with a few new board members, to just kind of go over what happened last year with regards to the budget. So, and this was also in the board notes, I believe. But this is kind of like a history of what we went through last year. So I'll go through it, a little high level, and then you can ask any questions. Just for information's sake, the FY21 budget was 77,438,090. And the initial budget that was draft budget that was presented to Dr. Grenier at the time, because it would have been November, December of 2020, it came out at 79,829,979, which is a 3.09% increase over the FY21 budget. So we're talking what this year's budget, FY22 versus FY21 the year before. Working with Dr. Grenier and Susan, we did work through some adjustments. An adjustment to the site budget. We removed a piece of snow equipment that Sam had in there because we were able to purchase it with FY21 dollars. And we also made a very large adjustment to the health insurance reserve because the reserve was a little higher than it should have been. So we felt comfortable making that adjustment. So on January 14th of 21, the budget that was presented by Susan was 78,268,081, which is a 1.07% increase. Of course, the board went through all of the workshops, just like we're doing now. Last year, we came up with some adjustments that the retirements weren't taken into consideration last year, so we were able to put those in. There were some adjustments that were made at the secondary campus, which was replacing a teacher replacing the athletic director and removing a teacher, converting the dean to a assistant principal, and converting Apex tutor to a full teacher. As well as at the elementary school, we added, that should actually be 0.5 FTE PE physical education teacher and a 1.0 FTE for school secretary. So those items brought the budget to, pretty much the same, 78,300,000. And then through further work, we determined that there were some costs that could be paid for with the ESSER 2, specifically 1.5 workers, remote learning software that was budgeted in the ESSER 2, as well as the summer school, which was paid in full by ESSER 2. And so we removed those costs from the budget. We also made some further adjustments, removed travel for workshops that were paid for by the DODEA STEM grant. We reduced diesel fuel because there were some leftover supplies from the year before. We decided to fund some of the IT infrastructure with DOD supplemental impact aid funds, which we've done in the past. And then we also made an assumption that there'd be a reduction in regular education magnet tuitions by 10%. That number came in around 9.2%. So it was a pretty good assumption, came in pretty close to that. And then on electricity and natural gas, we assumed that we turn over those 3 buildings that we're no longer using over to the town quicker. So it was an additional reduction there. So that brought the budget down to 77,746,765, still a 0.4% increase. We made a couple more adjustments. We added a function for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and funded that with some funds, 15,761. And then we charged the DOD supplemental impact aid for technology costs for 324,000. And that brought the budget down to the 77,438,090, which was a 0% increase over FY21. You can see that.
It's always good to have that reminder of all the steps that we go through, and it kind of prepares us as we go through this journey together that we'll be doing some of the same things, looking closely at the budget to see what we can do.
I'll stop sharing so we can see. But so that's just a synopsis of what we went through last year. As Susan said, I think it is good to understand, what we went through, what we had to, what adjustments we had to make so that we can, it can help aid looking at this year.
Anybody have any questions about that little history walk?
Great job, Ken, on calling the magnet tuitions.
Yeah,
Well, that was Susan, and yeah, it was, that was pretty good. I'd like to see those go down further, but it's a good start.
Yes.
and we added a couple to our magnet
Yeah.
per pupil cost. So one of the things that we did was the nearly $1.5 million reduction to the health insurance plan. And I just want us to know to be extraordinarily careful with this and cautious. And, you know, when we were discussing it, Ken really came up with an awesome visual. And I said to him, I feel like now I really get it. I used to get it in numbers, but now I have a picture representation. So modeling in mathematics is very important. So if you want to bring that up, is that our next place?
That's a great segue. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so health insurance reserve. Yeah, I did put together this kind of iteration.
Can Joan note that Kim arrived at 6:26?
And Beverly's here too.
Oh my gosh, how did I miss Beverly? What time did you arrive? Did you notice that, Beverly? Beverly? Okay.
I came in about 6:10.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry I missed you.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
I will share my, let's see. I'm just gonna find it. Health insurance reserve. Okay. So the health insurance reserve is really it's just a, I think of it as a container. It holds funds, holds money. So I think of it as I wanted to get a cauldron or something, but this is as close as I could get.
Aldrin.
So that's how I think of the health insurance reserve. There's two inputs that go into the health insurance reserve. There's what's the board puts in, and that comes through the budget. And then there's the amounts that the employees contribute. And those are contractual through the union contracts, the amount that they contribute. So those are the inputs. On the output, it's claims and admin costs. So it's the cost of the claims. We're a self-insured plan. So all claims that come in have to be paid through this health insurance reserve, putting aside stop loss for just a second. And then the admin costs, the costs that Anthem charges us to manage those claims.
And that was in the neighborhood of close to $9 million, right?
That's right. Yeah, the last slide and the slide that you received in your board notes actually gives some figures to this, and we'll get to that at the end. Actually,
okay.
It'll go on.
Okay.
A couple of levels to understand in this cauldron. I'm sorry, in this cylinder. First is they call it the corridor, and it represents 25% of annual claims. And it's basically a safety net. If you have a self-insured plan, you have to be able to pay for those claims that come in, and so it's required that we have a corridor, which it's 25% of annual claims, so it does go up and down depending upon the amount of your claims.
But it's red hot, so we don't touch it. That's
exactly right. On top of that, we have what we call health insurance reserve above corridor. And this is the amount that, we should maintain this health insurance reserve because if we don't have it there, then if we don't have enough funds in the account, it'll go into the corridor, and that's what we want to avoid. So
it's kind of like the yield sign.
Yeah, that's why it's yellow, right? Although it looks a little bit
careful.
Ketchup and mustard to me right now. But.
I know.
And so these are the components that I think of when I think of the health insurance reserve. And then the last slide just throws some numbers on what we think FY22 is going to look like as far as what these numbers are. And so you'll see that the Board of Ed is putting in close to $5.5 million. Employees contribute close to $2 million. And the claims and admin costs going out, we anticipate will be somewhere around $9 million. If you add those up, 5.5 and 2 is 7.5. So you can see that claims and admin costs are higher than the amounts going in. And so what that's having an effect of doing is reducing your health insurance reserve above the corridor. And this is built. This is how we built it, and this is how we we purposely did this. That's the $1.5 million that we took out.
Yeah. The 7.5 from the 9 gives you the 1.5 that we took out.
That's right.
And it didn't get filled back up again. Although at the end of the year, we did try to be responsible citizens and pay back what we did have at the end towards this and OPEB, but it was a drop in the bucket compared to what we had pulled out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a substantial amount of money. It was $100,000 that we put in here at the end of last year. But unfortunately, when you're looking at, balances of what was it, 3.5 million is what we anticipate the end of this year to be. It has an effect, but you need more than that to impact this.
So I guess the moral of the story is we can't keep taking from this fund, and we have to really ensure that we have it at a good, healthy rate. So and Ken and I have discussed this, if we do have end of year unexpended funds, I would like to be able to fill this bucket again with whatever we have.
Yeah, it's definitely good use of funds. It's appropriate, and it's warranted, I believe. So that's health insurance reserve. OPEB, if you want to look at OPEB, it works in much the same way. I'll stop for a second. I'll share. So OPEB is other post-employment benefits. So an employee that leaves our employ, if they still have the ability to utilize our benefits, we have to have a reserve on hand to fund that. Oh, and this one starts, oh golly. There we go. I wanted to start in the same place. So this one starts, it's the same thing. It starts with an empty cylinder. Contributions go in from the Board of Ed, retirees make contribution. This one actually, the Teachers Retirement Board also makes contributions. So there's enough extra input here. Output is the same, claims and admin costs, just like on the health insurance reserve. But OPEB doesn't have that corridor. It doesn't have the minimum. Basically, we should be funding it so that it grows to a point where it can absorb if claims and admin costs happen to exceed the inputs. And then here's a representation of the numbers that we think FY22 will end up at. And this shows that it will have a reserve around $2 million. The reserve was around $1 million at the end of 21. We are, does that make sense? Yeah. So it's approximately 1, 2, 3, 5 million going in. 5 million? No, 3,
3
$3
and 4 coming out. So yeah, it's increasing by about $1 million.
But you were telling me when we were discussing this, Ken, the interesting thing is we really, back in the day, a few years ago, Mike and I were saying, what is this OPEB? We were all saying, what is this? And, we were minimal at best at contributing. Last year, I think you said we got it up to $1 million, and this year we're up to 2 million. Is that right, Ken?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. When I started,
so we're steadily gaining on this one.
That's right. Yeah. So that is a quick down and dirty on OPEB.
Does it make a little more sense to folks seeing the pictures? Looks like Matthew has a question.
Yes, if I'm understanding correctly, Ken, if this year, God forbid, we had expenses of 20 million, then that would mean that the reserve, the red reserve at the bottom would have to be 20% of that. And then we would try to get another 20% above that if we were able to. I'm just not picturing a scenario, just the math of it.
Yeah, math wise, correct. Yeah. But I mean, and I guess maybe one other thing to talk about is that we do have insurance in a way that guards against that kind of catastrophic
Right.
claims. We have what's called a stop loss policy.
Like reinsurance.
Yeah. So we have an insurance policy. So if it goes above, the current level is 200,000. If any one claim or claimant goes above 200,000, the insurance would kick in, and the insurance company that we get our stop loss through would pay for claims above that level.
And we monitor it really closely every month to see how we're doing. And it was interesting last year, maybe even the year before, and this year, we've been under what we were expecting. But I keep saying people are going to get back to the doctors and some of those other treatments that they might need that, during COVID, we weren't really able to, follow through with.
Any other questions about the health insurance reserve or OPEB? Great.
I anticipate we'll be talking about it again, but I wanted to give you an idea of where it was at and provide that graphical representation if it helps you to understand it.
Thank you.
All right. The next slide is we provided this last year. This was the salary reconciliation slide. And what this one does is the biggest expense for the district is salaries or payroll. And so if we can understand how that's changing and moving, then we go a long way towards understanding why we're seeing the increases that we're seeing. And so I put this together last year. It seemed to work well. Hopefully it's on your screen and you got that in your board notes. But basically what it does is down at the bottom, you'll see it says FY22 budgeted payroll, 50,164,323. That was the budgeted payroll from last year's budget. This first column is what we're adding to payroll this year. So going from last year's budget to this year's budget, what has been added? The biggest drivers here are contractual and non-contractual salary increases that we're seeing. Teachers being, they're the biggest part of our salary, and per their contract, we are anticipating an increase of somewhere around 960,000 from last year. And then we go through each of the contracts, the administrators, the paras, custodian secretaries, the administrators and clerical, and the other non-union workers that we have. But then this bottom one is a new one this year, is where we need to address the minimum wage that is increasing. It's increasing to, help me out, Lori.
15%.
It's $15, but not until
$15.
June of 24.
Right.
However, with the market the way it has been for the positions that this is impacting, we needed to make an adjustment sooner rather than later. And so we went through a process over the past couple of months, Lori identifying the folks and calculating what the impact would be. And so this 253,000 is the full year impact of applying the minimum wage now versus waiting till it raises to 15. I think it's June of 2024.
So this year we found it in our funds because we haven't been able to hire all the staff, because we haven't had some of these competitive wages, and it's been really hard on us. So we are going to be paying for half a year starting in January till June. And then this is the full year.
Yeah, with the
for
assumption that
FY
we-
'23.
the assumption that we have all these people on staff, which I'm hoping
Right.
by this time, we do have everybody back and we have full force. So the impact is going to be that 253,000. So total salary increases is 1,524,000. Then we did add some positions to this budget. And I think we've talked about this before, but there's the elementary school assistant principal, basically for Thames River and Mystic River. There's the 1.0 FTE school secretary for those same schools because they're such larger schools. We did have to add an elementary school teacher this year. So that's reflected here because it wasn't in last year's payroll. We did increase the American Sign Language teacher from a 0.5 FTE to a full 1.0. So that's the increase of a 0.5. You'll see it's a rather large number, but we hired a top step teacher, so that's why that number is as large as it is. And then the athletic trainer, we have typically gotten our athletic trainer from a third party, but we're having trouble securing that. In that there's nobody. We can't find anybody to fill that role. So we went out and found our own athletic trainer. So you'll see an increase here in salaries, but you're going to see a corresponding, maybe not the exact same amount, but a corresponding amount decrease on professional fees because we would no longer have to pay a third party.
And I would say one of the big assets to that is that this athletic trainer will be the athletic trainer for both Groton Middle School and Fitch High School, where in the past, the contract was just for Fitch High School.
That's right. So total positions adds another 304, added positions adds 340,545. So total additions is 1,864,697. There were some reductions. We do have 6 retirements. And when we have a retirement, they're typically higher step teachers, and we would hopefully replace them with teachers that are on a lower step. So thus saving the district the differential. We estimate that to be $1,000. And so for 6 retirements, we're anticipating a reduction in salaries of about 180,000. And there was one position that we removed, an ELL teacher, English language learner teacher, that has been funded by the Alliance district funding. So that's an additional reduction of 55,000. So if you take last year's budget, you add the 1,864,000, you take out the 235,000, 51,794,000 is the budgeted payroll number for FY23. No, take that down.
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, and hopefully you also have that the page that we sent along in board notes.
If you remember, we were really looking at cost avoidance with closing 3 schools and opening 2. So we had 4 administrators originally, and we thought we could go down to 3, but it's really showed that it's almost impossible with the preschool. And I can let Phil talk to this because he's really overseeing the elementary. So Phil, if you'd like to chime
Sure.
in here about the needs at the elementary school level, that would be terrific.
Sure. And yeah, I've been meeting with the elementary teachers. I meet with them bi-weekly and a few extra times a month. And I've been working especially with Jamie and Giordano and Stephen Wheeler at the new buildings. You might remember, I think, I know you all received in the, I checked back, it was the December 12th board notes, sort of an outline from each principal as to, the size of the school, the number of students that have IEPs, and the different programs that are happening at these schools. And each of the schools has a little over 520 students apiece. They're averaging about 135 students with IEPs. We have the K1 Academy and the 2-3 Academy in Thames River, and the ABA district programs at Mystic River, as well as the integrated preschool and the pre-Ks. So a lot of different programs are being housed at the new schools. And, working with them, they're just, right now throughout the year, they've been acting really as building managers. And we want to, we think this position will help them getting back to be what they're supposed to be, which is the instructional leaders of the school. Time in the classroom, time to evaluate teachers and to lead instruction. So I'd ask you to look back on those. I could resend them out if some of you did not receive them. I'm not sure who was on the email at the time. Again, it was December 12th. It was dated. So we can look back and send
We could
those
add
out,
that
but
to our board notes so that they'll have that. That's
absolutely,
probably
we
a good
can
idea.
send that out again, but it's just,
So the reduction from 4 to 3, while we've kind of struggling our way through it this year, we really feel that they need that extra support. So.
I think there's a question.
Bev, you had a question? Bev, you're muted.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, I do. So the American Sign Language teacher, she's working that's a half a position, and you're paying her $72,000.
No, I can hopefully answer that. So in last year's budget, FY21 budget, we had a half of a FTE already in the budget. This was a teacher at the beginning of their career. So we replaced her with a full-time 1.0. So it's an increase of 0.5. But this is a teacher that has more experience and is on higher step on the contract.
So she's actually not half, she's actually 1.0.
Right.
Correct.
Right, okay. And my other question is, what positions are minimum wage positions?
There's quite a few. It's any position that was below the $15. So we did have some para positions. We have some aid positions.
I think even custodial.
I'm not too sure. I don't think the custodian. No, I think they were all above the $15. But it was mostly the aides and the some of the paras. Some of the paras were above, but for the ones that were below, we made an adjustment for those.
Okay. So when you said aides, you're talking about recess aides, or you're talking about classroom aides?
And kindergarten aides. Yes, Beverly, that's exactly.
School bus
Okay.
aides.
Bus aides.
School bus aides.
Yep. Program staff for programs like Treehouse and
Okay.
adult education support staff. It's a
Okay.
lengthy list.
And those are the people we've really had a hard time hiring. So we really are in need, especially in the paraprofessional ranks. And it was important, though, that when we set out to do this and negotiated it with the union for the paras, it was important that everybody felt like they would have a win in this, so that even when you bring on new people at this new $15 rate, others were also making some gains as well.
No, I'm not against the raise. I'm for the raise. I think they should at least get $15. I would be probably in favor of more money for them. But $15 definitely should be what they get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bev, if you could lower your hand so I don't call on you again. And does anyone else have any questions before we move on? It looks like Liz has a question.
Yeah, didn't we, Ken or Lori, didn't we send out, or didn't we, when we first talked about this back in the fall, didn't we have a listing of that grid or something that you had put out? Maybe because of the new board members, weren't here at that time. That should go back out so that the people can see what's happening, what's there.
We can add that. That's a great suggestion, Liz.
You want to add it to a board note, Susan?
Yeah, board notes.
All right, we'll get
So
that.
the grid of.
Because I
changes in
think
the
part of
wage.
that grid shows how we did little adjustments, I think,
Yep.
for everybody.
Yep.
So, because we talked about that extensively, I remember. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. That was a good suggestion. Anyone else? Matthew?
Thank you. Ken, could you give me a clarification? Did the salary chart that you showed include or exclude ESSER-funded positions?
The salary schedule I showed excludes ESSER funded positions. These are all positions that are funded by the board budget.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, one final call. Any other questions? All right, then let's move on to the next bullet point.
All right. So the next thing, and it kind of goes along with orientation, but we thought we would go over the object code, and it's the one that is found in your book in the front pocket. I'll get out as well. So it follows along with the red section in your book, but it gives some comments as far as what the reasons why we're seeing the changes in those particular object codes. So I can share this, I hope. There we go. All right. Can everyone see that? Is it big enough? So this should correspond to, it's called supplemental -1 through supplemental -8. And it's our object code report, but it's made a little bit bigger. And then, as I mentioned, on the right-hand side, there's comments as to what's driving the changes in these accounts. And so I'll go through this, and then we can circle back if there's any questions.
This was one last year that we did, that Mike and I actually started with Ken. And I think the board really appreciated, because when we go through and see some high percentages, we'd say, oh my goodness, what's going on? And we'd ask that question each and every time. And this way the comments kind of tell us what's going on. And, even with some reductions, and decreases. So this was, I think, very helpful. And I think it's helpful for the community as well.
So the first section is salaries, and we have the first section is administrators. And so we do see a 5% increase on the district administrators. That's object code 105. This is being driven by both competitive hiring rates as well as full years for some of our administrators. We had a couple new administrators start over this past year. And so that's what's driving that.
Does it also include the elementary addition of the elementary principal?
Well, I was looking at just line 48. You're right, that's included in line 53 in the total, but line 48 is just the district administrators.
Oh, okay.
9 is our principals, and that's a 2.1% increase. We had the same principals year over year, so that's just a contractual increase. But you're talking about line 50, Susan, which is both the contractual increase as well as the addition of the assistant principal that we talked about in the previous slide. So that's driving an 8.8% increase there. A contractual increase for the curriculum coordinators. We no longer have a dean. And then under athletic director, it's showing a 10% increase. We budgeted at the dean's salary, but in actuality, we ended up paying higher than that, 138,000 versus 128. So when you look budget year over budget year, it's a 10% increase. But total for administrators, a 6.1% increase, mainly being driven by the addition of the assistant principal at the elementary school. Next is the teacher salaries. And so the classroom teachers, a 3.1% increase, which is mainly contractual increase, but there is that added 0.5 FTE ASL teacher, as well as the elementary school teacher that we spoke of in the last slide. The special ed certified teachers, they don't all necessarily go up by the 3.1%. It's all dependent upon which what teachers are in each group and where they are within the steps. You know, they kind of run the gamut here, but overall, it's about a 3% increase. You'll see summer schools is blanked out because that's being covered by actually I should say ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER. So there is no charge to the board budget for next year. Let's see, tutors, we have a contractual increase in there for them per their contract. The coaching stipends, we actually, per the contract, we didn't actually settle on what the new stipend amounts are. That's something in, I think it's the March timeframe. So we put in a placeholder of a 2% increase for the stipends, but looks like they went up 2.5% because we added in a wrestling at the middle school. So that increased it a little bit more. The non-certified aides, these are the aides that we talked about before, the kindergarten aides, as well as the paras. Line 65 is the paras. And you'll see that went up by 4.5%. So there's some contractual increase, but there's also the impact of the minimum wage in there. And that'll affect most of the people in this group. You'll notice on line 67, other aides is going up by an astronomical amount. That's where we put that athletic trainer for lack of a better spot. And so once again, there's an increase here, but we're going to see a corresponding decrease on the other professional fees in a second. Substitutes are kind of kept rather steady. We are funding quite a few substitutes through the ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER. And so we think that we can keep this steady, just a small 1% increase while we work through the funding from ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER. Clerical is, it shows a 4.1% increase, so that there's a contractual increase in there, as well as adding that 1.0 FTE for the two new bigger elementary schools. Custodial maintenance and techs, that's a contractual increase in steps. You'll notice that the technicians actually look like they didn't increase at all. That's because we had 3 retirements this past year out of the technical staff, and we were able to replace those at lower rates. So it had the effect of no increase year over year. And then security and supervision, these are the security guards at the secondary schools. We put in a 2% increase. So overall, I don't know if you remember, but from that previous schedule, there's that 51,794,000. That's that number that we got to, and so that's the 3.2% increase, and we talked about where that 1.6 million came from. Let's see. The next section is benefits. You'll see that we put in a 5% increase in claims. As we spoke of, we need to continue to fund the health insurance reserve appropriately. We are being told from our insurance consultants that we should expect an increase in claims of around 5%. And so that's what's driving that. Workers' comp and town pension, these numbers come from the town. We don't actually have those numbers yet, but we put in placeholders of 1.5% and 1% for the two sections, hoping that will be sufficient to cover those. We'll get those hopefully over the next 30 days or so. Social Security and Medicare, driven by the salaries above, and so it's a 4.2% for both Social Security and Medicare. Other employment benefits, we did show you that we were anticipating retirements, 6 retirements. And so as stated before, we anticipate saving around $30,000 per retiree. But at the same time, we have to pay out per their contract a severance payment. and that we approximate that around 15,000 per retiree. And so we're anticipating that that will cost around $90,000 next year to pay those severance payments. Unemployment, now that we're past the COVID, you'll see last year $120,294. Now that we're past that, we should go back to a more normal amount. We anticipate that 40,000 should be sufficient to cover our cost of unemployment insurance. Tuition reimbursement, a small increase here. The teacher and residency fees get charged through here, and so that's what's driving that increase. So overall, total benefits going up by 5.3%, or a little bit over $500,000. I'm just going to keep on going, and then at the end we can circle back. Is that what we want to do? Purchase services. So these are the top one is instructional services. So these are the services we get from like Project O and I can't think of Mystic Seaport. So when we go out and we have instructional services provided to us. Instructional improvement services is when we're getting somebody to come in to give the teachers ways to improve their instructional services. And so
we actually found out some good news through Department of Defense Education Activity Fund that they are accepting as part of sustainability to be able to use the funds into the following year. So we can have a service like the New Perspectives in Mathematics, Context for Learning Mathematics, continue with us for the following year and provide the PD, and then we wouldn't have to cover it in operation costs. So that'll help us with our sustainability. And we have the funds in that to do it.
Mm-hmm. Under professional services, you'll notice not line 98, but line 99. This is where the athletic trainer is no longer being charged here because it's up in salary. So you'll see a reduction here it's a reduction of 40,000, but it's being reduced by items going the other way. And then computer network services are up. This is the cost of providing internet and network services to the district. So we're anticipating an increase there. Overall, for total purchase services, we're expecting to be about the same as it was this year, a little under $2 million, but a small decrease. Property services, so these are services to maintain the properties. Water and sewer, we anticipate, we have less buildings, but we anticipate the usage to be similar as what it was with the larger number of buildings. Same with trash removal. We're still going to have the same amount of trash to remove. Snow removal, we've had a couple of really good years the past 2 years. I don't know how long that's going to continue.
I had to call my first snow day. We'll see what happens. This weekend, I'm hoping it falls on the Martin Luther King weekend, the snow day.
We still have to clean it up though. So
I know that's true.
No snow. So we're keeping it steady at 50,000. Hopefully that's sufficient this year and next year. Repair and maintenance, pretty flat year over year. That's just a reflection of we have newer buildings, so hopefully not as many things to repair. And then under rental, the main driver under rental is our copiers, our leased copiers, and which we use for a centralized printing system. And as we move forward and we know the exact number of copiers that we need, we're refining that number. And so we think we can reduce that budget to 123,000 next year. So again, we're looking at property services, and we anticipate that to be very similar to this year, 843,000 versus 848 last year. So very, very similar year over year. The next section is transportation, insurance, communication, and tuitions, kind of a hodgepodge. The first section, lines 126 to 130, this is transportation for our students. And you'll notice that 126 and 127 are up. Well, they should be up in total by 3%. This is the last year of our contract with STA, Student Transportation of America. And it called for a 3% increase in rates in this final year. And then we put in a placeholder of a 2.5% increase on curtain costs, as I anticipate those would go up, especially with the increased cost of fuel. Transportation other, this is down. This is field trips, athletic trips. They're both down by approximately $9,000 each. So that's driving a decrease, just less field trips happening. Yeah, this comes through the principal's site budget reports. So that's what drives it. They're putting in what they anticipate spending, and so it comes through here. Transportation for staff. It's the education and admin are kind of flat. You'll see that travel conferences is up. We've had a couple of years where we haven't done much travel, but we we anticipate MYP and other areas where if we have the opportunities to go, it may make sense. We still recommend that we do the webinars or the distance, but sometimes it makes more sense to go in person. So that's what's driving that number. Liability insurance is anticipated to go up. We have 3 brand new buildings, so liability insurance is based upon the cost to replace.
Value.
Yeah, and so with these brand new buildings, it's just it's driving these up quite a bit. We're anticipating a 10% increase in our liability insurance premiums, and that's what's driving that. Under communications, we do have a new phone system in place, and it's also has a new backup. We've had troubles in the past where the phones go down and we're not able to get through. We have a system in place now so that that won't happen. Problem is that backup and the new services, it costs a little bit more. So we're anticipating an increase of 23,000 under telephone, which is it's a 35% increase. So it's a good increase. And then let's see, minority recruitment. These costs are covered by the Alliance District funding next year. Tuition, special education tuitions. So we do anticipate an increase in the vocational and magnet school costs of about 2%. But if we assume the same number of students as we have this year, we could probably expect to see a slight decrease. As far as the placements, line 152 and 153, these are somewhat beyond our control because if a student needs to be placed, they need to be placed. We have a pretty good budget in there now, $2.5 million for Board of Ed placements and $600,000 for state placements. We've come close to that these past 2 years, so I feel pretty comfortable that we probably spent somewhere close to these budgeted placement amounts in the next fiscal year.
I think some of the savings you see in special ed vocational down 10% is also because having the transition academy right at central office and having all the opportunities that we've been able to give kids, we've been able to keep them in district. And that can be said too for other programs that we have in the district. Just really trying to make sure our kids can stay in district when at all possible. Yeah,
it definitely has a positive impact on our numbers because not only is it the tuition, but it's also the special education services that these students
cost.
And so that's added on top. Tuition other is regular ed students as well as adult ed. If we anticipate the same number of students next year as we have this year, we can probably anticipate a small increase here. Estimated, just about flat, but flat to the budget, but increase over what's actually going to happen this year.
Well, and we don't have any control when Learn or New London decides to increase those tuition costs.
Yeah, they've already told us that they're going to increase
2%.
Yeah, so we've got that built in here. So overall for the entire group, an increase of 1.5%, but it's a big base, so it's an increase of 173,000. Under supplies, once again, these are driven by the principal's site budgets, and so what you're going to notice is an increase in general supplies, but you'll notice as we go further down that's a decrease in textbooks because there's more online resources. So they put more funding up here in supplies. In the various ones, a decrease in science supplies, and they go up and down. Overall, for just regular supplies, a $42,000 increase. I'll point out line 177, which is food. It's being driven by we do fund any lunch liability that's unpaid at the end of the year. In the cafeteria program has to be funded by the Board of Ed. And so, for FY22, we're not charging the students, but it's anticipated that in FY23, we may start charging students again. And so there may be unfunded lunch liability that we have to cover. And so that's what's driving that increase in there. Under computer supplies, there's a decrease on line 180. This is we had HP printers at all of the school locations. That lease has ended and we didn't renew. So that was a savings to the district of $43,000. And we're utilizing the copiers that we spoke about earlier as a centralized printing solution throughout the district. Software, we have a small increase in here, a small $9,000 increase. But it's being offset by the fact that we're covering some of these costs through ESSER 2, ARP ESSER, and the DoD supplemental impact aid.
And I just want to add that Tom and Phil have been working on a usage and survey so that we can look at what we do have and try to streamline it. We had purchased a lot of things we got for free, but then we were purchasing when we were totally remote learning. So taking that aside, they're really doing a wonderful job and can present to the board about their findings to reduce some of those costs.
And that's ongoing. We review that on a weekly basis.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I agree. That's good work happening there. And just so we know that this software covers both the learning software as well as the
Management
software like Power School and the financial software that I use. It's all comes through this line. Electricity and heating, you'll see on line 186, it looks like it's pretty flat year over year. We did have to carry those three buildings that we're going to turn over to the school, turn over to the district, the town. And so we're anticipating that happens. So we should see electricity about the same year over year, even with the reduction of those three buildings. We will have a full year of the new buildings on the natural gas. All three of the new buildings are heated through natural gas and less heating oil because the buildings that we're turning over utilize heating oil. So we'll see less usage there. So a small increase. $6,000 increase year over year. The cost for diesel, we anticipate go up almost $10,000. And that's just a result of the fact that the price for gas / diesel is going up. Here are the textbooks that I alluded to before. So this is a reduction in textbooks because they're utilizing more online resources, textbooks, workbooks. A slight increase on the library books, but for the most part, as far as books are concerned, it's a decrease of $28,000. As far as facility and maintenance supplies, there's some reductions in here, but we under budgeted the custodial supplies last year, and so we have increased that one. Let's see, for almost 15%, $20,000. So that we have the sufficient amount of supplies for custodial. So the total increase for facility and maintenance supplies, $14,000. Other supplies, these go up and down. I'll just go through them so you understand what they are. Support services, guidance, improvement, instruction. So these are supplies that support those programs because they're not really a classroom supply and they're not an admin supply. That's what 205 is. So there's an increase there of almost 5%. Audio and visual supplies, that's an increase of $3,500. This is to support the audio visual at the buildings as well as that central office, and with the additional usage of Zoom and all, we're finding we need more supplies in that regard. General admin supplies, pretty flat, down $500. School admin supplies up $1,600. Professional materials, these are materials that either teacher or admin would get to help support the work. There's actually a decrease on that, 16%. So overall supplies is a small increase of 11,267, 0.4% increase over the prior year. All right, well, home stretch here. We've got equipment.
7th inning stretch.
Yeah. We got equipment. So instructional equipment, we do have an increase. Total increase for instructional equipment shows 46%, which it's a big percentage, but it's also low base. So off of $67,000, we're anticipating an increase of $31,000. So it looks like a bigger increase. It's being driven by a couple of things. We had an update to the piano lab. We're looking to upgrade the tech ed computers at the high school, and then also add a Mac portable lab for multimedia classes at the middle school as well. So those are the things that are driving that increase. Non-instructional, we're actually not looking for an increase, flat year over year. That $10,000 is for just some facilities equipment. So in total, equipment up 40% year over year, $31,000. As far as dues and fees, somewhat flat. The driver here is under line 223, other dues. We did agree in the last teacher contract that we would pay for the SLP license, that's speech and language pathologist licenses. And that's going to run like $2,800, and that's what's driving that increase. So in total, it's $2,355,008, or a 3% increase. Done.
Shoo.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing. There we go.
That's a lot
Okay,
to take in.
Does anyone have any questions? I don't see anything in chat. Let me see if I see anything in hands. No.
And just so you know, we'll be going over all of this in
Yeah,
detail,
we'll go into detail.
but that's like an overall top-down type of a look.
Mhm.
All right, I see Liz's hand up.
Yeah, Susan, when is the building scheduled? When are those buildings scheduled to be handed over? What's the status on that?
Well, I know that Sam has been working really hard to clean them out. And
Yeah.
to anything that had needed to go to the schools has already been gone through. The town and city has looked through the schools to see if they wanted to absorb any of the leftover materials. And I think it's gone out to bid. So we're right in the middle of the bidding process. And I think as soon as we can clear them out, the town's going to be taking them on. At least SB Butler and Claude Chester.
Okay, so once those get turned over, then our responsibility to maintain them goes away, correct?
Right.
And so that could reduce some of our expenses, especially in those two buildings. Am
You
I
know what?
right?
I'm going to add to my board notes. I'm going to work with Sam just to see if we can get a timeline on that.
That would be really cool, because
Yeah,
that's a lot.
this is how I learn what I need to put in the board notes.
Well, the timeline is that they are, the auction just finished, and the purchases of any items that were left in the buildings are coming there today, tomorrow, the rest of this week. Next week, the move manager, Tom Beebe, will be discarding the leftover or obsolete materials that are left in the building that did not sell in auction.
Okay, thank you, Sam.
So what are we thinking, Sam, as a prediction of turning over the buildings? Are we thinking this winter or hold on to them till spring? Have we gotten any indication?
Well, I'm hoping
I
that we can
think
do
I
it within,
saw Mrs.
I'm hoping we can do it in about 60 days or so.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Were there any other questions? I see
Sam?
Matthew's hand is up.
Thank you. Sam, is there anything of the surplus stuff that's not been auctioned that
Okay, I
might be
think I
made
saw
available?
Mrs. Ackerman raise her hand on the screen. Is that correct? Trust? Mrs. Ackerman? I see, yes, I see.
Shall I wait?
Yeah, wait. Kat, you're frozen and your speech is delayed.
I think that is not part. Yeah, I think that's not part of the budget discussion. Okay. All right, how do I sound now?
You sound better.
But you're still
Is there
frozen.
still a problem?
You're still
It says
frozen.
that your network bandwidth is low.
Is there still a problem? Is there still a problem?
Yes.
Okay. But you can hear me.
I can hear you.
We're changing that. We actually just signed up yesterday. I apologize for that. Matthew, I'm wondering if maybe we could add that to a future item.
Sure, no problem.
Can you just restate it for me so I can write
Did you
it
hear me,
down, Matthew?
Matthew?
Sure. I was wondering if there was anything left over that we might make available
Ugh.
free to our staff.
Matthew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Matthew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We'd have to look into that. There's a lot of
Sam, I
specificity
think you're
and
muted.
It can wait. There's no crisis on this. This can wait.
yeah, we'll just have to look because there's specificity around turning the building over. So there's almost like a policy written. So we have to just check to see what the process is,
Sure.
if that can be done. Okay. Are you guys ready to march right along?
Mrs. Ackerman, did you raise your hand on the camera before Matthew spoke?
I'm not sure what you're asking me, Katrina.
Did you raise your hand?
No,
Did you have a question?
no.
It looks that way. Mrs. Ackerman has a question. I thought so.
No.
No, she does not.
Trust me, I have no
Thought I
question.
saw-
What?
I think we're dealing with a latency issue with her. She's like
Okay, I have someone in the chat.
a lot
Let me just
further
double
behind than we
check
thought. So
that.
maybe just move on to elementary.
So before,
Yeah, we may, I am gonna turn my all right, I'm gonna turn my camera off. That may help.
I don't hear any any crinkling anymore from Kat. So maybe that feedback has ended.
Can you still hear us, Katrina? Because sometimes when you turn off your video and you can still hear us and talk, it kind of works better.
Yes, that's why I turned my video off.
Okay,
I can hear you.
perfect. All right, then we'll keep marching ahead. Ken, tell us where to go to next. I think
Well,
it's to
so
our red
the next-
section, right?
Yeah, well, actually, we were going to do the
Oh,
yellow
the
section,
yellow.
just to do it like an overview. So let me share that. So yellow section, where are you? There it is. So this corresponds to pages where does it?
1, 2, and 1, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 1, 3. Yeah. So this is that first section in your book. The first page is the 1-1 actually. This has the mission and goals and the diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. 1-2 is just a look at the budget, and it's looking at how much salaries and benefits, how much tuition and contracted services, transportation, utilities and the network and software costs. And what it's trying to do is basically say, where can we have a lot of impact? So 77% of our cost is under salaries and benefits.
So I'm just going to give you a Mike Grainerism. If Mike were here, he'd say, what do we give our students? We give them the highest quality teachers, paras, custodians, secretaries, principals, administrators. And so you can see that over 3/4 of this pie is in the people that we give our students.
That's right. That's right. So that's that page. The next page is kind of just a review of how this budget is funded. So the revenue source to support the Board of Education budget. And so you'll see that we do get funds through the federal, which is the impact aid funds, which are for students of military or are federally impacted properties, whether they live on them or work on them. We do get funding from the federal government for that. We also get excess costs for special education. That's been around $925,000 to $1 million per year. And then we also get costs through Medicaid. A big chunk we get is through the education cost sharing grant from the state. It's been pretty consistent at 25 million over the past couple of years. And there are also some other state funds, grants that we get funding for, some transportation and ones like that.
So I think the thing that when we say the town directly gets these funds to pay for the education budget.
That's
So I
correct.
think it's really important when we go through all of our presentations to the public, that they understand that we have these significant amounts of money that are going to the town directly, not to the Board of Ed, but to the town directly to pay for education in the town.
That's correct. Yep. And so what we don't get through those sources, the town does pick up the remainder, which has been somewhere in the $46 to $49 million excuse me, range. And then we do this little comparison against the property tax that's collected in town, and it hovers around 50% of property tax collected supports the Board of Ed budget. Excuse me.
So that seems to mean that the other 50% then would cover all the other expenses that the town would have.
That's correct. Sorry. The next page is a little bit of more detail on the grants. These are the ones that come directly to the district, whether they be the, the title grants, Carl Perkins, IDEA to support special education. You'll see on this line here, perhaps I should number these. This is the DoD supplemental impact aid, which this one comes directly to the district, which we use in the past to pay for technology.
We've also noticed that the amount of impact aid, which goes directly to the town, has seemed to increase. So they're actually getting more money than what we've budgeted for them. So they're getting increased money from impact aid, and we've gotten increased money through the supplemental impact aid. Hence, we've been able to afford a lot of our technology through that instead of using our operation budget.
And then we do have confirmation that from the Alliance District funding, we'll get 200,000 both this year and next year to support the initiatives for the targeted district improvement. Those are all under what we call categorical grants. We get those regardless of what we do. We don't apply for them. They come to us. The next section down is competitive grants. So these are ones that we've actually applied for, and we have to compete, I guess, for them. And so this is this chart here actually shows last year and this year for the MSAP grant. This is the last year for the MSAP grant. So we won't see that repeating. The DoDEA math grant also ends at the end of this year. So those are the funds we're getting there.
Although we did get the information that for sustainability, we'd be able to use some of those funds that are unused for next year for sustainability. So that is really good news.
Yeah, it's great news. DoDEA STEM grant goes through next year, so it goes through 2023. And then we have a new one here, the DoDEA Health/STEM Pathways, which actually started this year, 22. So it's going to be going for a number of years through 2026. And then we've also got a grant to establish an after-school care program at Groton Middle School, which started this year and will continue until 2026. And so those are our competitive grants at this point. I know that Susan and her staff are working on getting more of those. Oops. And then we also got these Corona Relief Funds. So last year we got what they call the CRF, the Coronavirus Relief Fund, through the state of $1.2 million. That was the immediate one that had to be used through the end of December of 2020. Then there was the CARES Act, or the ESSER grant, that has to be used through September 30 of 2022. And we used the lion's share of it last year. And actually, I think we finished it up just this past month. So that one has ended. Then we have CARES Act 2, or ESSER 2, which is utilized through September of 2023. And this is the amount that we anticipate utilizing this year, 1.5 million. The American Rescue Plan, ARP, also called ESSER 3 or ARP ESSER, is through September of 2024. And then there was some other, oops, it's very sensitive. Some other smaller coronavirus amounts. There's an ARP IDEA to support a social worker and a behavior analyst that goes through June of 2023. ESSER 2 special education recovery activities to support special education students at the high school also goes through June of 2023. And ARP ESSER for homeless children and youth, which goes through September of 2023. So in total, the Corona Relief, we anticipate utilizing this year, FY22, almost $3.4 million to support the initiatives that they're looking for there. So in total, the total grants for this year is utilizing $8 million, almost $8 million, 7.989. The next page, 1-5, gives a little bit more detail on the coronavirus relief grants. These are the newer ones, ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER. I don't know if I have, no. I don't have the other smaller ones in here, but you can see how they're multi-year ones. So this is the amount anticipated to spend in FY22, FY23, and FY24. But for a total for ARP ESSER anyhow, 6.572. And let's see, ESSER 2 was 3,045,000. And that's how we anticipate spending these. We had to, submit a budget to the state, and this corresponds to what we've presented here. Then this page here is a little bit of history as far as the board budget over the past, this is 11 years. You'll see that it's been the 77,438,090 for the past 3 years. But then if you average these amounts over the 11 years, it's on average 0.6% per year. And then on the expenditure per pupil, this is a calculation provided to us by the Connecticut State Department of Education. You'll see that what we put here is what Groton's expenditure per pupil is and what the Connecticut average is. And you can see that we're consistently, at least now, below the Connecticut average. It looks like back in 11-12, we were pretty close to what the average was, 11-12, 12-13. But then we're quite
$500,000 to 1.3 million under the average.
That's right. And you'll notice a big increase 2019 to the school year 2019-2020 was almost 16.5 million, but then last year 2020-2021 is almost 17.7. It's a big increase. That was mainly driven by changes in the number of students, but you'll see that happened all across the state. They had a similar type of increase. We don't want to see increases here, but by the same token, it's happening throughout the state and actually throughout the nation, I believe. And then the last page is just a look at what those average costs per students. First, we look at our local districts to see how we stack up against them. You'll see that we're on the lower side, with Ledyard being the only one lower than us. They're at $15,752 per student. The average for local is a little over $19,000, which is similar to what the state average is. You see how they stack up here. And then we also compared our district against the other districts that are like us from our DIRG. And we're on the lower end. There are a few lower than us: Bristol, Plainfield, Naugatuck, in the $17,000 to $16,000 range. The average for this group is $18,800. So we're below the average of both the local and the district reference groups. So I will stop my share. That's just a little high-level review of our budget.
I think this is, these slides, we've taken a few for the PowerPoint as a good way to introduce the budget to the public, because I think it's good to show them how a budget is built and what is the biggest expenditure, which is of course people. And then how does the town afford the budget? What part is from the taxpayers? What part is coming in through grants? So I'm hopeful that this will give people a little bit of clarity. But always appreciate your feedback. And if you think of anything else that you think would help, let me know.
Okay, before we move on, does anyone have any questions? Looks like no.
No, I do.
Okay, Mrs. Ackerman?
Yeah, I should know this, but I don't. And if I don't know it, maybe other people who are watching don't know it either. So I think I heard Ken say that the federal funds that go to the town are designated for education expenditures. Well, what happens if we don't spend all of that money? Does the town spend it in other ways? Do they have to send it back to the federal government? What happens to it?
So you're saying if we don't spend according to our budget and we spend less?
No, I'm saying the federal funds that go to the town.
Mhm.
If our budget doesn't consume all of those, what happens to the monies that are left over?
I think a good example is the impact aid, because impact aid has been coming in higher than what we budgeted. So
Mhm.
that additional, let's say, $1 million is going into the town, and it's not going for educational purposes.
I thought I
We're
heard
not
somebody say
spending
that.
it for educational purposes.
I
We're
thought it-
spending, let's say we predict it's 3 million for impact aid, but they get 4 million. So that extra million, the 3 million pays for our budget because that's what we had predicted. But the extra million is sitting there and goes into the town for them to spend.
I
Yeah,
thought go ahead.
and maybe a way to think about it is we spend the federal and state dollars first, and the town portion is just reduced. You know, the 46 million or the 47 million, whatever that number was, they just utilize, we just utilize less of that. So no funds have to be returned because
No.
there's never a reconciliation of how it kind of goes. It's kind of back to that whole vat or that cauldron. Kind of all goes into this big vat, and we're not necessarily making distinctions on what amount is federally funded and what amount is town funded. It just kind of goes into the general fund and then goes out from there.
I thought I heard that it was designated strictly for education. Okay, and the other comment that I have is that if you're a young family coming into town and you look at our budget, education budget, and you see that it's 0%, and then you look at where we stand either in the DERG or in the neighboring towns, and we're almost below everybody, who on earth would move here if you had children? That's it. Okay.
I would say
And
that the
Jay,
reason we have such high quality is the people that we hire, but also the competitive grants in the tune of about $10 million from the federal government in the past 8 years. That's what's provided Teachers College, Columbia University, all of the math, the NGSS, the MYP.
Yeah,
So we
I
have
understand
gained significant additional funding that has caused us to really shine.
Yeah, I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I
Yeah,
understand.
public perception.
Yeah, I understand the quality of our education present to the children of the town. I'm talking about people who don't know that, who don't know us, who are looking strictly moving here from wherever, and are looking strictly at what we spend and where we stand and the public perception. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the quality of education. I know what that is.
Okay.
I just wanted to make a statement.
Okay, I have 2 hands up, Jay and Bev. I'm going to start with Jay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that page 1-3, what Ken has done there explains Dr. Ackerman's question quite nicely. And it'd be interesting to see that for more years going back. I'd be curious to see. Basically, what we're saying is the percentage of property tax that supports the Board of Ed budget went down from 50.6 to 48.4. And part of that is the increase in impact aid. So in other words, we've reduced the taxpayer burden, the local
Right.
taxpayer burden through federal funds. And number 2, we have to keep in mind that when we're looking at the cost per student, again, we're looking at what came through the budget. If you were to actually add in what we got through the grants, we spend a lot more per student than that. But this budget book is designed to support our presentation to the town. and the allocation of town funds. So those numbers, really don't reflect the true amount we spend on our students.
That's a better connection. You said that well, Jay. I guess that was my intent, but you said it better. Thank you.
Beth, you had a question?
Susan, how do you come up with per pupil expenditure? How do you calculate that number?
So we really take out, how much we spend in a year and kind of divide it by the number of students we have to figure out, is it that easy math? Is there any other trick to it, Ken?
No, that's pretty much it. Actually, the Connecticut State Department of Education calculates it for us based upon our year-end report. But it is really just that simple. It's most of our expenses. We do take out adult education and other things, and we add in like-kind expenses from the town. But it is essentially what Susan said. It's the total cost divided by the number of students.
Any other questions, Bill? Okay, I'm going to move on to Matthew.
Katrina,
Yes, Matthew?
I think Jay captured what you and I were chatting about earlier today. If we could somehow present the same data in a different way, we could show that we were spending more money per pupil at a lower percentage of cost to the town. If we somehow had a first budget that wrapped in all of the grants that we received, and then when we go, that's the total expenditures that goes there that we make. Then we subtract the amount that we break out the amount paid by the grants, which is not paid by the taxpayers, the amount paid by the federal and the state, which is not paid by local taxpayers. We end up with the same amount of money that's paid by the lower taxpayers, but it represents a lower percentage of the total cost, while responding to Dr. Ackerman's comments about we want to show people that we do invest in our kids. I'm just wondering if that's something we might work on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe you could send a referral to Kim to review or develop different charts or whatever to after we're finished with the budget for this year. Because I think we're a little far along to make those kind of significant changes. Thank you. Okay, I don't see anything up. Are there any other questions? Okay. Now we go on to elementary instruction, or is that what? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really our home run stretch here tonight. Ken, you've done a great job.
Yes.
So the way this book is put together is it starts with that first section, which is quite summarized. It's high level, and it breaks it down as you go along. The very back section, which is a pink tab, that's what has all of the costs by function. And when we mean function, we mean that's the activity that's happening. Whether it's elementary instruction, the next one is art instruction for secondary, and it kind of goes on like that. And so when we're looking at that pink section, that's our lowest level of detail. And so that's why when we review the budget, we review on that level, because any changes we make there would feed up to the total. And so what I will do is I will share, what is this, 5-2. 5-4 and 5-5.
Oh, I've got 2 and 3.
Well, those 5-2 to 1.
Oh,
2,
okay. I'm sorry.
3
I'm sorry.
are summaries.
Yep.
But 5-4, hopefully you can see that, is details for elementary function. So the way this is set up is the top page, or the even numbered page, kind of goes into detail on the number of FTEs that are being represented, as well as a short synopsis on what this function is for. So this is the first one, function 1101, elementary. This covers pre-K through grade 5. And so the first section is number of classroom teachers broken down by school, as well as below there are some teachers such as art teachers, music teachers that aren't broken down by school. They're specials teachers. And then also this is where we show the number of FTEs for our regular and special education aides. And there is a description of what is covered under this function. And then the change from last year's budget to this year's budget is we added a 1.0 FTE teacher to allow for 4 tiers at the new elementary school. And I think we talked about that previously. So that's what it talks about from the FTE perspective. And then from the dollars perspective, this is laid out very similar to our object code summary, where we go through salaries and benefits and professionals, professional service, purchase services, and supplies. So let's see, you'll see that total salaries and wages up by 3.4%, which is pretty consistent with our being driven by the teacher contract. 377,187 increase on classroom teachers year over year. There is some increase to the regular teachers' aides. That is the minimum wage impact. And then we have the teacher in residence program identified here as an additional cost. So 3.4%. Insurance, so I'm sorry, for benefits for this group is it's a slight decrease of 0.2%. Instructional services down $14,000 or 37%. These are, once again, these are driven by the school site budgets. Repair of equipment, flat or increase of 0.4%. Purchase services, so travel for field trips for the elementary is actually up $3,550. So it's a total increase of $2,550. Supplies, I'm sorry, supplies, overall supplies down $21,760 or 11%, but increase in equipment of $10,450. So the total amount year over year difference for elementary is a difference of $357,864, which it's being driven almost exclusively from increase in salaries, which is due to the teacher contract rates. All right, and I will stop sharing.
Lori, would you, I'm just surmising this, that in elementary, we might have more newer teachers, younger teachers that we've hired. I don't know if, how that fares with, in the middle school or the high school. Would you say we've had some cost efficiencies there?
I think certainly that's what you've mentioned is definitely probable. When we make elementary hires, it's definitely replacing a top step teacher, usually at a more entry level, because elementary teachers, there are many more of them in the marketplace looking for jobs. So we tend to, see a lot of them come straight directly from college into the profession.
And I think with regard to the contract, we kept the steps, or we've kept the steps for those teachers, and that's a more significant jump year to year. I think, than those who are the senior, experienced teachers who get an incremental, but they don't get the steps
Right.
that the
right.
younger teachers get.
That's right. Right. Yep. And we do see some retirement in paraprofessionals at the elementary level as well. And they tend to be hired at, they come in at a lower rate by the contract. Yeah.
Any other questions that we might have?
It's me. My hand's up. Can you just review what the teacher in residence program is, please?
It really goes along with our diversity, equity, and inclusion
I thought so.
mission. And Laura, you can speak to this. I think we've hired 3 teacher in residence, and they really are like interns and teaching partners to the teachers in our building. I think, have we really hired them at the elementary level? Mostly?
All 3.
All
It's
3?
currently an elementary program. And it's a 1-year teacher in residence placement in which the district employs them. They also complete all of their coursework to become elementary certified. With the completion of the program, we would hire them as elementary teachers upon completion. And it is specifically designed to attract educators of color to the profession. And it does align to our DEI mission and vision.
So let's say you have 6 of those retiring teachers, 3 might be elementary. It would then open up a position for these teachers in residence to become, of course, they would be interviewed. It would be a fair process, but it would certainly, we would look to them as people who would be good hires, and we train them too for the whole year. So
yes,
that's
we've been
the other-
developing them, right?
been
They've been shadowing in the classroom with an elementary teacher on a daily basis, learning the process of becoming an educator. We have 2 in this upcoming budget. We have 2 placements that we've budgeted for. Currently, we have 3 in the current budget, but 2 in the upcoming year's budget.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you,
You're
Susan.
welcome.
Any other questions? Oh, Bev, I just saw your hand pop up.
Thank you. How many classroom teachers do we have?
There should be a page on that somewhere. The total number
Okay,
of teachers.
there's a page?
We should,
Okay, I'll
yeah,
find
we
it.
will get a total FTE. They've broken it up by elementary, so we saw the number of FTEs. We've gone through the elementary. We'll then go through the secondary at middle school and high school. So you'll be able to see, as we go through this process, all the number of classroom teachers.
Okay. And what do you mean by regular sub teachers? Are these teachers that you hire that come in every day to sub?
So you're talking about line 120, regular
Right.
teachers. Yeah. No, when it says regular sub teachers, that's to differentiate them from special education. Perhaps it's not the right wording, but they're just substitute teachers. It could be a combination of people that come in, like building substitutes that come in on a daily basis, or ones that are called on a periodic basis.
What's the salary of a substitute teacher in Groton?
We just adjusted them to $100 per day for a regular daily sub and $125 per day for a building sub who reports every day.
Is that competitive to the area?
It is. They were part of the minimum wage adjustment that we just made effective January 1st. And we did do some competitive analysis so that we were matching them to the wages, the sub teacher wages for the surrounding districts.
Okay, thank you.
And I will add, just for this particular budget, we do have building subs that are being paid for through the ARP ESSER, which won't necessarily continue, but for the time being, it's being subsidized through ARP ESSER, or ESSER 2/ARP ESSER.
So for instance, during COVID, and particularly last week and today, middle school and high school had 25 people who had COVID and needed to stay home, teachers, paras, adults. So we don't usually see that enormous amount of staff, you know, who get sick on a daily basis, but COVID has really hit us like a storm. And so that's why those funds in our BESSER are there to provide for tutors and paras and security guards to have additional security and substitutes, which we really need because as people get sick, they can't come in and we need someone to substitute and take their place. So those our BESSER funds have really supported us well.
Thank you.
I don't think I think Kat got kicked out. Did she get? I don't see her on the
Huh?
screen anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
looks
I
like
was just gonna tell her she did such a great job.
Yeah, she's had a weak connection all night though.
Yeah.
So she might have gotten,
So we're at our 2-hour mark and I'm just looking to see when we come back together again.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to go through. So I feel good.
Yeah, what we're gonna tackle. So we have secondary instruction, enrichment, remedial, summer school, and some education media, which we'll look at on the 18th. After we do our public hearing, we'll go into a budget workshop. So that was a good job, 2 hours to get through all of that. When we first designed this, we went ahead and added the elementary piece to see if we could get it done, and we did. So thank you to Katrina for keeping us
Nice
on
job, Ken.
task.
And thank you,
Susan,
Ken.
can I ask a quick question?
You sure
it-
may.
It's going back to the very beginning with the reductions. Did any of the reductions that you made last year, did they hurt you in any way?
Well, I think,
Did you say, oh, I shouldn't have made that reduction?
well, that's exactly right, Beverly. And that's something that I think we have to drive the point home as to why we need this additional elementary assistant principal. These buildings are almost twice as large as, you know, our typical Groton buildings, the way they used to be. And we were thinking we could get away with reducing a secretary and, you know, many, many different positions. And we really looked at it because of the size of the building and said, no, we really need an additional additional assistant principal really in each building to help us with these specialized programs, the special education, the PPTs. So that's why we brought back this cost. We also brought back the secretary. So I'm glad you asked that question, Beverly. There are things that we thought we could do with the reduction, but it's really not possible if we want our principals to be instructional leaders, good instructional leaders that they really want to be, and to be able to really evaluate their staff and their teachers. And that's an important job of a principal.
Thank you. And I would just, coming from the RTM, I would just caution when if you say something like, oh, look at our per pupil expenditure, it's lower than other districts, because people in the community, they're gonna say, look we got 3 new beautiful schools. We do care about our kids,
Right. Right.
And also when you say, oh, the federal government's gonna pay, well, we also pay taxes to the federal government.
Mhm.
So we're paying that too.
Yes,
So
you're
just
right.
be
You're right.
cautious how you word stuff, because
Okay.
the RTM picks up on that. And that's
Well,
coming
that's
from an
good
RTM
advice, and
member.
I'm glad you're on our team to help us with the how we present this. It's important. That's why we go to you all first.
Well, thank you for, that was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Katrina. So I guess we just need Dr. Ackerman for her final finale.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, Jay, you beat me.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night,
night.
all.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Night.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Ken
Thanks,
and
everybody.
Sam.